Rav No. Big mazel tov to Orit, whose grandson Yisrael Meir, and I don't know if it's all 10 or all 9, had his bar mitzvah, mazel tov, and a great big mazel tov to Rachel Kaplan, who had a new granddaughter, Maryasha Malka / Manya. Everybody should have only simchas, healthy, and with uplifted hearts. And anybody that needs a refuah should have a refuah shlema ukreva immediately. This week's sicha is Chaye Sara Beis. And it's an interesting sicha to do as we get closer to the Kinnus Hashluchim, which is this weekend. Aleph. The Parsha Seinu Misupar al Dvar Tzivoy Avram Avinu Eliezer Avdoi El Artzi Ve'el Maladati Telech V'lakachta Isha Livni LeYitzchak. In our Parsha, we are told about the command of Avram Avinu to Eliezer, his servant, and these are the words that Avram said to Eliezer: "Go to my land, to the place of my birth, and you will take from there a woman for my son, for Yitzchak." Visham ne'emar, sha'al she'elis Eliezer, and there, in this dialogue, Eliezer says to Avram Avinu, he questions, he asks, Ulai loy seva isha lelachas acharay el aretz hazos. Maybe the woman is actually not going to want to follow me to this land. What should I do? Hahashev ashiv as bincha gomer? Should I then come back to take your son and take him to her? Heishiv Avram vociferously and categorically replies, Hishamer lecha pentashiv. Be very careful, take heed. Do not bring my son there. Hashem yishlach malachai lefanecha v'lakachta isha livni misham. Hashem is going to send an angel before you, and that's going to result in you being able to take a woman for my son from there. So basically, Eliezer says, I'm anxious. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fulfill your mandate. And Avram says to him, don't worry, it's taken care of. An angel of God is going to go before you, and it's all going to be okay, and you're going to be able to bring the woman back here to my son. Ubehemshech haparsha, besipor al dvar chazaras Eliezer b'fnei Besuel as divrei Avram elav. But as the parsha continues, later on in the parsha, where we have Eliezer repeating the entire story or the narrative to Besuel, the father of Rivka, and he recounts what Avram Avinu told him, Ne'emar. So there it says, this is what Eliezer is reporting to Besuel. Vayomer Avram Elai, Avram said to me, Hashem yishlach malachai itcha v'hitzliach darkecha. Hashem will send an angel with you, and he will make your journey be successful. V'lakachta isha livni mimishpachti, and you'll take a wife from my son, from my family, etc. V'tzarech lahavin, and we have to understand. Lama shina Eliezer milshone shel Avraham, u'b'makayim yishlach malachai lifanecha, amar yishlach malachai itcha. Why did Eliezer change the terminology? Why did he change the verbiage? And instead of saying Hashem is going to, that Avram told him that Hashem is going to send an angel before you, he reports to Besuel that Avram told him that Hashem is going to send an angel with him. What is the significance of this slight but important change that Eliezer makes? And don't even try to say that it's no big deal, it's just semantics, it's just a tiny change in the terminology. And the Rebbe says that we see in this parsha that there are in fact a great many changes that were made in the recapitulation of the story by Eliezer to Besuel that are different from how it actually occurred at the beginning of the parsha when Avram gives Eliezer this job. but you can't say it about this change. You cannot say that it's inconsequential, that it's not important, that it's just a slight change. You can't say that about the change between lifanecha and itcha, before you and with you. Why? Sharei kfar amad Rashi b'pirush al al shinui ke'ein zeh b'parsha kademes. One of the rules, the axioms that the Rebbe taught us, is that Rashi expects the ben or bas chamesh lemikra, the 5-year-old that he is writing his commentary for, to remember everything he'd already taught previously. So previously, Rashi actually explained the difference between before you and with you. And he explained that it actually is a profound difference. Visham his bir tamadavar. And there it's talking about the difference between Noach and Avram. And regarding Noach, it says, Es ha'elakim es halech Noach, which means Noach walked with God. Oba Avram oimer, but the Torah says about Avram, Asher is halachti lifonov, that Hashem reports that he walked before Avraham. And Rashi explains, Noach hayetzarich saad l'taimche. Noach need help to support him in his spiritual service. Aval Avram haya mischazek o mahalech betzitko me'elav. But Avram Avinu was strong, and he was able to walk by himself in his righteousness, and therefore God was able to walk ahead of him, as it were. Umizeh muchach. So from this comment by Rashi in the previous parsha, it proves shahashinui bein es ulefanav yesh by chiluk b'teichen. This proves that the difference between the word es and the word lefanav is actually a conceptual difference. It's a contextual difference. Hadirish perish gam al derech pshat. And if Rashi is teaching us this, that means that al derech pshat, on the simplest level, you have to understand the difference between es and lefanav, which is really the difference in our parsha between itcha and lifanecha. Ulefiza eina muvan. So if Rashi felt compelled to explain the difference between es Hashem and es Hashem halach lefanav regarding Noach and Avram, respectively, so it's not understood. Lama loy amad Rashi b'parsha seinu al shinu shebein lifanecha liitcha. So why doesn't Rashi similarly feel compelled in this week's parsha to explain the difference between before and with? Val korchach tzarich leimer. So the Rebbe says that logic compels you. You're forced to conclude that once Rashi already explained previously the difference between these two terms, these two words, and he explained what we learned from that. So now Rashi expects that when we come to the same difference in this week's parsha, it should be self-understood what the difference is. Okay, so the Rebbe starts with a question as to why Eliezer changes the terminology when he recounts the entire episode of Avram sending him and everything that he was anxious about and what happened subsequent to that. So Eliezer changes a word. He changes it from lifanecha to itcha. Avram tells Eliezer, don't worry, there's going to be an angel that goes before you that's going to smooth out all the bumps in the road. But he changes it, and when he tells the story to Besuel, he changes it to Avram telling him there's going to be an angel that goes with him, kind of to support him, to help him, but not that it would already be a fait accompli by the time he comes there. Okay? And the Rebbe says that the reason why Rashi doesn't have to stop on this is because he stopped on something similar in last week's parsha, the difference between Noach and Avram. Avram was able to walk in it with his own kind of sturdiness in his righteousness, and God was able to walk before him. Noach needed Hashem to walk with him kind of as a crutch. Beis. V'yishloimar habir bazeh. So now that we understand the difference, now the Rebbe says we might say that the reason why Eliezer tweaked the instructions that Avram had given him when he recounted it to Besuel is the difference between these two terms is exactly what it sounds like. Itcha perusha yachad imcha. The word itcha means together with you. The angel will go together with you. Ulefanecha means koidem elecha, that the angel will go before you. V'hainu sheyishlach malacha itcha perusha shemalach yelech yachad im Eliezer v'yisayeyu b'milui hashlichus batzlacha. So itcha means that the angel will go with you and will help you to fulfill the shlichus with great success. Ubulashim Rashi Hanal, and like Rashi explains about Noach, Sa'ad l'taimchai, assistance to support him. Masha Enkain, in contradistinction, Yishlach malachai lifanecha. When Avram had said originally to Eliezer, Hashem is going to send an angel before you, Perushai, this means Shamalach Yelech Milfanim V'yavtiach Meirosh Tzlacha Shlichus Shel Eliezer. The angel is going to go before him, and from the very beginning, it's going to be assured that his shlichus will be with Hatzlacha. And this is a main difference. In the first modality, that which Eliezer presented to Besuel, Pu'ulas Hishtadlus Mitzad Eliezer, this let's just say this project, this Pu'ula, this charge, this mission is about Eliezer's Hishtadlus. It's about his effort. It's about his overtures. It's about the work he's going to put in. Ella shahamalach yosef siyua sad l'taimchei kedei shehishtadlusay tatzliach. But he's going to put in all the effort. He's going to put in all the work, and there's going to be a malach at his side to help him. Masha enkein yishlach malachai lefanecha. But a contradistinction, when Avram had actually told Eliezer that there's going to be a malach, an angel that will go before you, Perushai, this means, it's not just that the malach is going to help in all that Eliezer does and help that it should be successful, Ella sheyachin v'yatkin oisa, but rather that the malach is going to prepare and is going to fix v'yavtiach and will assure as hatzlacha hishtadlu shel Eliezer mikara. The malach is going to take care of all that has to be done and assure the success of Eliezer's overtures, but it's going to be assured from the get-go. Okay, so in a way, he just has to kind of jump through the hoops, but the end result is already assured. And that, the Rebbe says, is a very big difference. Gimel. V'lazeh niskavein Avram b'amirasa yishlach malachai lifanecha. And that is actually what Avram's intention was when he said those words to Eliezer. Shahatzlachas Eliezer b'shlichusai tia ba'ofen shakadosh baruch hu yavtiach milichatchila shahapa'ula tushlam kira'ui. This is in fact what Avram Avinu told Eliezer, that his success in his mission is going to be in such a way that preemptively God will already assure the success. L'loik shoyim, and there's not going to be any difficulties. The kachava, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly how the story unfurled. Reish is called, first of all, miyad betchilas mahalach hinyanim. At the very beginning of this whole story, Bahagiyah la'aram naharayim el be'er mayim, when he reached to a place called Aram Naharayim, he reached a well. Lo hutzach Eliezer filu lahamtin. Eliezer didn't even have to wait. Ki bihinei Rivka yotzeis v'gomer. He reaches the well, and behold, Rivka's coming out. v'yasera mizu, and more. Lo yhesa zu taitza mitfilas Eliezer. Hak hikra na lefanei hayom gomer bishlei musa. And this was not the result of Eliezer's prayer to God, please make it happen that I should meet the right woman. Sharei Nemar, because it says, Vayehi hu terem kila ledaber. It says in our parsha, it's very clear. It says, and before he finished praying, before he finished saying these things, before he finished his kind of request of God, Vihine Rivka Yotzeis, Oit Koidim Shasiyim Tfilasai. Before he completes his prayer, Rivka's already coming towards him. And this is because because what was going to happen was not based on Eliezer's prayer. It was already all arranged above. Shatavai Rivka, Tekev la'achar haga'asa shel Eliezer, that Rivka should come to this spot immediately after Eliezer arrives. Vizais, Beimitzad Eliezer shekaftzeh aretz. And this occurred on both of their sides. On the side of Eliezer, Rashi tells us that he merited kfisas haderach, which means that he was able to traverse the area that he had to travel in a miraculous way. It was supposed to take much longer, but he arrived much sooner. So on Eliezer's side, his arrival was orchestrated. Uvei mitzad Rivka, sha'efen yitziasa mibeisa haya, and also on the side of Rivka, that Rivka leaving her home happened. Vayehi hu terem kila ledaber v'nei Rivka yotzeis. It was also orchestrated from above that Rivka should leave her house and should arrive even before Eliezer finishes imploring Hashem that his mission should meet with a success. V'yesh leimer. And we might even say, the Rebbe says in brackets, Shazeh Shashah HaKadosh Baruch Hu is bias Rivka lebe'er ad l'siyum tfilas Eliezer. And this, that the Eibishter kind of stalled Rivka's arrival to the well long enough for Eliezer to get close to the end of his prayer, Hayarak kidei shal yedei hasimin sheyitzayin la'atzmai b'tfilasai yuchal ladah sheisha sherichiach Hashem leven adoni. It was only because Eliezer made a simon, he asked God to kind of give him a sign that this is the right woman. And so for Eliezer's sake, to assure him that he was dealing with the right woman, Hashem made Rivka arrive not before he started to pray or at the beginning of his prayer, but allowed to give him enough time to kind of make this deal or ask Hashem for a sign. Aval etzem biasa, but her actual arrival to the well, kfar nikva v'huftach, it was established and it was assured, oit koidim shispalel. This was all orchestrated before he started to pray at all. In other words, the Rebbe's point is, it's not because or through Eliezer's prayer that Rivka arrives there. Rivka's arrival was assured already. She arrives when she does, so that Eliezer should feel assured that in fact this is the right woman. And we see the same kind of overt orchestration of Hashem in all the details later on in the story. When Besuel, her father, wanted to stop the shidduch, miyad ba malach vehimisei. He died. He was killed by a malach. And then we see the same thing at the end of the story. When Eliezer wanted Rivka to go with him immediately, which was not in consonance with what her brother wanted, Lavan, and her mother, because they wanted Sheteshiv Hanara Itanu Yamim. They wanted her to stay home for a little bit longer, get the trousseau together, and so on and so forth, do some shopping. The Nena al Kach, and they answered, Nikra Lenara V'Nish'ala et Piha. We're going to call the young girl and we're going to ask her opinion, which was totally kind of a crazy thing. First of all, because of how young she was. And the Rebbe says in a footnote, even though She was, she had a maturity that defied her chronological age, but still, she was young. So they're going to ask her. And then juxtaposed against sociological reality in ancient times, who asked a girl or even a woman if she wanted to get married? But they did that. And then what does she do? Hine takef Hishiva Rivka Elech. And Rivka doesn't even take time to consider this. She doesn't say, let me sleep on this. She says, I'm going. None of this is natural. Dilachayra seemingly Seemingly, we don't see that Eliezer even spoke to Rivka about the shidduch. Yes, he did give her presents, but he didn't speak to her about Yitzchak. So maybe he's just coming to bring presents from Avram, who's a relative. The Rebbe says that this is important because if he would have spoken to her when he met her, then it would have been then we might say that she had time to consider this proposition, and after ruminating and mulling it over, she decided she's going to go with them. But she didn't. And nonetheless, as soon as she was asked if she agrees with the shidduch, Amra Elech, she said, I'm in, I'm going. And like Rashi explains, Elech, what does it mean, Elech, I'm going? Me'atzmi, I'm going on my own. Va'af im einchem reitzim. And I'm going even if you don't agree, even if you don't want. Kalaymar, HaKadosh Baruch Hu garam lekach, shetaskim b'li kol ishtadlus mitzad Eliezer. God caused this to happen, that she should agree without any effort on the part of Eliezer. So what the Rebbe has done in this seif is explain that from the beginning of the story, through the middle, through the end, it's very, very clear how this is all orchestrated from above. And it really is not the efforts of Eliezer that make this mission succeed. Dalet. Ba'al pize yuvan gam hatam lekach shashina Eliezer medivrei Avram va'amar yishlach malachai itcha. And now we're in a better position to understand why Eliezer changed the word milfanecha to itcha. Lifanecha to itcha. Ki signon hadibar yishlach malachai lifanecha loy haya miskabel ba'aznei besuel. Because had he said that Avraham Avinu told him Hashem is going to send an angel before you, insinuating that it's a done deal, this would not have been accepted by Besuel. It would have made him irate, it would have made him defensive, it would have made him hostile, and Eliezer therefore had to change it. Why? Because Kasher Diber Eliezer and Besuel Bikesh Lekabel as Haskamasu L'Shidach. When Eliezer spoke with Besuel and he asked for his agreement to the Shidach, Loi Haya Kol Mokim L'Saper Shavram Amar Yishlach Malachai Lefanecha. There was no place for him to say that Avram told him that an angel of God is going to go before him. Hamayre, which would indicate this would indicate that the whole thing was done even before Eliezer came and before he started talking to Rivka's family. Because Besuel would say, okay, if this is already done deal, a fait accompli, then, what is all this machination? What are you coming and pretending that you're asking me and you're telling me what you're going to give me? According to what you're telling me, a malach already came and already finished everything. There's nothing for us to talk about. Eliezer yishlach malachai itcha. And therefore, Eliezer had to change the term, and he reported that Avraham Avinu had told him that an angel is going to come with him. Not before him, but with him. Ba'al pi hanal, and based on this, yum tak shinui noisa b'dibur shel Eliezer. Now we're in a better position to understand another tweak that Eliezer made. Shaloi k'fi shahaya davar l'maisa, which was not exactly a reflection of the facts on the ground of what happened. Nisinase Rivka es hanezem zohav haisa oid koidem sheshal isa bas mi'at. Eliezer actually gave Rivka a valuable piece of jewelry, a nose ring, a gold nose ring, before he asked her who she was. Ve'ilu b'sipuria al kach l'psuel, but when he recounted what he did to Besuel, her father, hine kedivrei Rashi, it tells us, Shina Haseder, he changed the order. He reported to her father that first he asked her who she was, then he gave her the jewelry. Shelo yitfesuhu b'dvar v'yomru ha'ech nasata la v'adayin eincha yodea mihi. Because he didn't want to be caught, hoisted by his own petard. He didn't want to be caught by his words that Besuel would say, why would you give my daughter this piece of jewelry before you even know who she is? So although he did that, why did he do that? Because he was assured, as soon as he saw her come to the well, he knew this was the answer to his prayer. He knew that this was the girl, so he gave her a piece of jewelry, but he didn't want to indicate this to Besuel. Nesinas Eliezer as hamatones l'Rivka b'terem yoda mihi hoisa mishum shebiyodei she'amar Avram yishlach malachai lefanecha. Eliezer giving presents to Rivka before he knows who she is because of his knowledge based on what Avram had said, that an angel of God is going to go before you, basically smooth out all the issues, take care of everything. And especially when he saw that she's coming towards him even before he finished davening. And also, she comported herself in consonance with what Eliezer had prayed for. He had prayed for a young woman who would manifest kindness in extraordinary manner. So he already understood and he knew that this was the work of the angel of God who had prepared all this. So he was already sure that Hashem had made him successful, and he gave her jewelry. So that's how it actually went down. But when he reported what happened to Besuel, in that conversation, when he changes what Avram told him from an angel will go before you to an angel will go with you, so in that paradigm, where an angel is only going with him and not before him, there's no room for him to give her presents before he knows who she is. And that's why he changed the order, so Besuel wouldn't hang on to that word and say, see, there's something that's not on the up and up here, because you already gave my daughter presents before you even know who she is. Hey. Now the Rebbe is going to help us, more than help us. It's more than itzcha, it's lefanecha. The Rebbe came before us and smoothed out the whole road, and he's showing us that.
Can I ask a quick clarification question?
Sure.
So he said it's the angels going with me because before she would say she would marry him, or before because you said that he had asked who she was first and then gave her the jewelry, right?
In actuality, when Eliezer saw Rivka appear, before he had even finished praying to God, he knew that this was the woman. He didn't have to worry. And so he gave her the gifts. But when he reported what occurred at the well to her father, he said it differently. He said first he asked her who she was, then he gave her the presents.
Oh, so he didn't actually do that.
Correct.
Okay.
The Rebbe explains that this is connected to changing the term of the angel going before you, which is what Avram actually assured Eliezer, to what he reported to Besuel, which is the angel will go with you. Because if the angel is only there at your side to help you, then it means that Eliezer is making all of the overtures necessary. He's making all the effort. The angel is going to give him some help. Whereas lifanecha means Hashem's doing everything. It's all done for you. But he can't let Besuel know that, because then Besuel will be like, okay, so you're just bamboozling me. You're not
Okay,
really
thank
asking
you.
me, etc., etc.
Okay, thanks.
And we all know what that feels like, right? When somebody comes and really everything's set up, but they're just presenting it as if they're asking us, right? But in actuality, it's a done deal. It's all done, and that doesn't feel good. So Eliezer realizes he can't do that to Besuel. Besuel's a wily guy, and he needs to, handle him carefully. Hey, so the Rebbe is now saying that even though, in a very clear and revealed way, Eliezer did not say that Avram told him the angel is going to go before him. Mikol Makayim, but still and all, Ramaz le'inyan zeh. But he did allude to this. Umemela katan hashinu eid yaser. And therefore, it's even a smaller difference in what Eliezer reported from what Avram had actually said. In other words, the Rebbe is saying that, to me, it seems like the Rebbe wants to say that Eliezer had to say certain things, but he wasn't completely obfuscating. It's a very subtle change. Why? Because he signaled to Besuel certain things. For instance, B'kach shehoisif es hatevois, yishlach malachai itcha v'hitzliach darkecha. He added words to what Avram told him. Avram told him, there's going to be an angel sent before you. And Eliezer changed it to, there's going to be an angel that goes with you, and he will assure the success of your mission. So with this, Eliezer is signaling to Besuel that there's more here than just a simple shidduch being contracted. Because we don't find the words v'etzliach darkecha shelo yimatzinu b'feirush b'divrei Avraham. If you look back at the beginning of the parsha, you're not going to find those words. Val derech zeh. And then there's another place where Eliezer added, Kasher chazar b'sipor el tfilasai hoisif aloshin tfilasai. When Eliezer repeats his prayer to Besuel, when he tells Besuel how he prayed to God and what he prayed to God, he adds, Hashem, im yeshcha, if you wish, na matzliach darki, make my mission be successful. V'habir bazeh. And now the Rebbe drills down on the word hatzlacha, which Eliezer added. Perusha ha'amiti shel hatzlacha hu. The true understanding of hatzlacha, loy kasher hatzlacha sa'adam bal yidei yagia, is not when success comes through tremendous toil, ella kasher hadavar nitan la'adam me'akadosh baruch hu. Hatzlacha is given to a person from above, from Hashem. Al derach mashenemar b'Yosef. Like it says about Yosef HaTzadik in the Torah, Vayehi Hashem es Yosef. Hashem was with Yosef. Vayehi ish matzliach. And then it says again, Hashem matzliach biyadai. And then it says a third time, Vasher hu oiseh Hashem matzliach. 3 times it tells us that he was successful. But it tells us where the success came. Hashem matzliach biyadai. Vasher hu oiseh Hashem matzliach. Val derech zeh hidgish Eliezer v'Hashem hitzliach darki. And Eliezer also underscores this. Hashem made my way, my mission be successful. I see a question. An angel could have taken Besuel out without Eliezer having this conversation with him. That's true, Jane. Jane is making an assertion. But generally speaking, and I'm not saying I know the exact answer to this at all, but generally speaking, we learn that Hashem prefers for things to happen through natural means, even when it's actually miraculous, but for it to go through the cloak of the natural. So when Bisuel actually tried to stop, that's when the Malach came in and said, okay, we have to take you out because you're impeding what's going to happen. But at the beginning, it's like he got a chance to be part of it. Like it was going to happen with or without him. And it's kind of like Hashem is giving him a chance to be part of it. You don't want to be part of it? It's going to happen without you. Yeah, it's kind of dramatic to take him out. Could have caused him to change his opinion. Yep. Another comment, that's a gift. What do we have to do to deserve this? Maybe when we do it, Eliezer does and says how he saw it. Okay. So I don't know who Samsung SM is, so sorry I can't address you by your name. But yes, Hatzlacha is a gift, and the Rebbe is going to tell us what the conduit is. Okay. Ulahaisif, and to add, sheyesh b'kach yosem me'asher b'chidush al yagati u'matzasi. The Rebbe adds that there's a chidush, is a novelty in Hatzlacha that's different and is more than yagati u'matzasi, I toiled and I found, which is already also a kind of gift because it's explained. Matzasi is also a gift because the term implies that what you accrue, what you get, is even more than the toil that you put in to get it. So it's not relative to the effort you put in. Ukidiyu kalosha matzasi, and the Rebbe says that this is implied in the particular term matzasi. I found lashon mitzia. You found something. Al derech mitzia haba b'li ishtadlos. Like when you say, "Oh my gosh, I found it," that implies like you were walking down the street and you found $100 bill, or you found whatever. The ain't sarich ela latircha achimu etes shebahagbas hamitzia. Mitzia, finding something, means all you have to do is that tiny bit of effort of picking up what you found. But it's not in consonance to the work that you put in. The cholzais, but still in all, hare pu'ulas yagaiti mamshicho machricha eskia matzasi. But still in all, whatever overture a person puts in, whatever toil they put in, it pulls down, it pulls forth, and it determines the possibility of finding it. So it's true that what you find is going to dwarf the effort that you put in to find it, but it's your effort that creates the conduit that draws it down. Masha ein kina inyan shel hatzlacha. But the Rebbe says hatzlacha is a whole different thing. Amitis, the true understanding of hatzlacha, einoi tolui ba'avodas ha'adam, ela zuhi matana milmaila. It is not dependent on the work of the person. It's a present from above. It's a gift. It's a bequest milmaila. Ulafiza nimsa. And so once we understand this, we understand shebahisafa yishlach malacha itcha v'etzliach darkecha tomun teichen hashava le'inyan yishlach malacha lefanecha. Now we're in a position to understand that when Eliezer adds the word, he makes the haisafa v'etzliach darkecha, that the angel that is going with you will assure your success. In those words is buried an equal implication to what the word lefanecha would have meant. Basically, sharei inin hatzlacha hu kasher hadavar ba b'derech matana milmaila, because hatzlacha is a gift from above. So it's the same implication as saying the malach will go before you. Okay, so in other words, on the one hand, Eliezer has to modulate the message so Bisuel will be open to it. And on the other hand, he doesn't actually obscure what's going on here. He actually broadcasts to him the same content as Milfanecha, which is that there is something celestial going on here. It's transcendent. Vilachain, and therefore, Kasher tier appeared Eliezer b'fnei Besuel ketzat filasai im yescha na maslir darki nismala. And this is why when Eliezer described in detail to Besuel how his prayer to God that if you will it, please make my way, my mission be successful, and how it was fulfilled. Because he said to Besuel, "Vani terem achala ledaber." It was even before I stopped speaking to God. V'hinei Rivka yotzes, and Rivka comes out. Miyad Amar Besuel. What did Besuel say? Me Hashem yatza hadavar leinucha ledaber elecha ra oitayv. This came from Hashem, and whatever I say to you is of no moment. It doesn't matter. I could say yes, I could say no. It's a done deal. This whole thing is a done deal. It's all finished from above, derech hatzlacha, and it happened successfully. And there's no way for a person to change it. So really, you got me boxed in. Vav. Al pizeh yuvan gam inin tamua l'ch'er b'divrei Avraham. And based on this, we could understand something that kind of is a wonder, seemingly, in the words of Avraham. And what is that? Kasher sha'al Eliezer, ulai loy soiva ish l'lachas acharai. When Eliezer said to Avraham, and what do I do if the woman doesn't want to come with me? Hey shivai Avraham. So Avraham replied to him and he said, Hishamer lecha, don't even think about bringing my son there. Be very careful, take heed. Hashem Elokei Hashemayim yishlach malachei lefanecha v'lakachta isha livni misham. Hashem is going to send an angel before you. And then he tells him unequivocally, and you will take a wife for my son from there. Hainu, this means, shekevan shakadosh baruch hu yishlach malach, because Hashem is going to send an angel, memela maftiach hulai. This is a promise, v'lakachta isha livni misham, that you're going to take a wife for my son from there. Ve'ina muva, and it's not understood. Ech yachal Avram lahaftiach l'Eliezer v'lakachta isha livni misham. How could Avram promise Eliezer that you will take a wife for my son from there, b'shah shadavar tali b'rtzaino v'chirasa shel when it depends on her will, it depends on her choice. Ubifrat, and especially, Shavram ba'atzma himshich b'dvarav la'alta v'amar, Avram himself follows up after he says, Hashem is going to send a malach before you, you're going to take a wife for my son from there. But then he follows it up and he says, V'im lo yisayva isha, and if the woman doesn't want lalecha sacharecha to go after you, v'nikisa mishvu asizais, I'm going to absolve you from this oath that you made with me. So how does this work? On one hand, Avram tells Eliezer, you're going to bring a wife for my son from there. And on the other hand, he tells him, and if she doesn't want to come, don't worry, I'm excusing you from your oath. Ella shahaya kan hachidush vayisrain sheyishlach malachai lefanecha. But what was happening here is that there was a novel and a extra dimension to this mission that's included in and implied in the word lifanecha before you. Hainu, this means shemakar v'shayir shadavar hu mimakim shahu lifanecha. That the source and the root of this mission and the success of this mission is sourced in a place that is lifanecha. It's transcendent. It's higher than anything you can accomplish through your work and through your overtures. And therefore, the hatzlacha is not dependent on the effort and the toil that a person will put in. And the same is true on the other hand. And anybody that wants to stop this will also not be able to do so. Because this is coming, the whole thing is coming from a place that's lifanecha, that's before you, that's above you. So it's not going to be on the merit of the effort you put in that it's going to happen. And anybody that wants to stop it is not going to be able to stop it. Both things are true. Therefore, even though, yes, there is such a thing called bechira, there is volition, there is choice. And that's why there is the possibility that the woman will not want to come with you. We have to account for that possibility because there is bechira. Im kol zebar. But all of this notwithstanding, it's clear. Shebepoyel yiskayim v'yushlam ha'inin v'lakachta isha livni misham shetimtza isha shetifchar leleches Eliezer. But one thing is clear, that this is going to occur, that you will take a woman for my son from there, that you will find a woman that will choose to go with you. Avram is saying to Eliezer. It's true that people have freedom of choice. It's true that there's volition. But it's also true that this is coming from a place that's lifanecha. And Hashem's plan is going to happen. Zayin. We might say that this is also one of the ways to understand a well-known teaching from the Gemara that Rashi brings down. Yafes yichason shel avdei avos meitarason shel banim. There's an extraordinary amount of ink that is spilled in the Torah on this story. We hear the whole story in all of its details, not once, but twice, in a parak that goes on and on and on. Why? So one of the things that we're taught is that the conversation of the servant of our patriarchs is even greater. Yafe, it's literally means nicer, but it's maybe more important, or it's even greater than the Torah of their children. So now the Rebbe is explaining that Talmudic teaching in a very different way. He's saying, how is the conversation of Avodim higher than the Torah of Bnei Yisrael? Because within the paradigm of Torah, we have this rule, the Gemara teaches in Brachos, Hakol bidei shamayim, everything is in the hands of heaven, chutz miyir shamayim, except for fear of heaven. Basically teaching us that the only sphere, the only arena in which we have choice is in moral choices. But everything else is predestined. Hainu, this means, this means that when it comes to Torah mitzvahs, bechira has not been taken away from us. But in this but in this conversation of the servant of our patriarchs, we find that this whole thing is framed not in the paradigm of Torah, but in a place called lifanecha. It's a transcendent place. And you're going to be successful willy-nilly. The success of this mission was assured above, even in such a circumstance where it would be blocked seemingly by choice on the part of people. Because this is the level of avdei avos, of servants of our patriarchs, higher than even the Torah of our patriarchs. Now here comes the answer to the question, what do we have to do to deserve the gift? So the Rebbe says, Ela shalashem kach nidrashim shnei tnoyim. It's true that this is a higher level than Torah. In other words, according to Torah, what's going to happen is circumscribed by bechira. But in this paradigm, bechira ahim, bechira aher, this is going to happen because it's lifanecha. It's coming from a transcendent place. So it's going to happen to the avdei avos. It's going to happen to the servants of our patriarchs. But in order for it to happen, there is a caveat. There are two conditions. Aleph, Sheyia Adam Avde Avos, that the person who wants to merit this gift has to actually be a servant of the Avos. Evet she'enei mitzias b'fnei atzmai klal. And what is the essence of servitude in Torah? A servant doesn't have their own independent existence. Mitzias yeshle. Rebbe explains he has existence, but what is it? V'zu mitzias ha'oisa po'elis v'afilu g'doylos chulei akol mitziusa hi mitzias ha'adain. He has existence, and he does all kinds of things, and he might even do amazing things. But it's all the existence of his master. Like it says, Masha kana evet kana rabbi. That when a servant buys something, because he belongs to his master, what he bought belongs to his master. If he buys himself a Mercedes, now it belongs to his master, because he and everything he has belongs to the master. So the Rebbe says, first of all, in order to be able to tap in to this level of hatzlacha, to tap into this level of lifanecha, you have to be a real eved. And beis b'noisav l'kach tzarech liyos inyan hasicha. And in addition to this, there has to be the inyan of sicha, right? That's what the Gemara says, sichasan shel avdei avos. What is sicha? Rebbe brings down the Gemara in Brachas again, Ein sicha ella tefillah. Like we find, Yitzchak went out, lasuach basada. That's the word that's used in the Torah, lasuach basada. Rashi tells us that he davened mincha. So sicha is tefillah, is prayer. Hahakara habrura she'ena yachal lismech al koichesav shaloi. There has to be clear recognition that you can't rely on your own talents and energies, Elohu muchach lispala kadosh baruch hu, but rather that you have to daven to Hashem. V'al yidei habitul mikol v'kol, and through this level of self-abnegation, hu nase kli, he becomes a vessel, a conduit, lahanhaga yishlach malachei lefanecha v'lekachta goyim b'derech hatzlacha. That's how you tap in to this level called lefanecha, to this level of hatzlacha. Ches. Mashi is saying, I thought that Masha Kana Evet Kana Rabbi means that if you have a servant, you have to give him everything he needs, even the same kind of pillow that you have. It could be. It also means that. And what you're saying is definitely the halacha that you have to treat your servant with the same dignity that you treat yourself and the people in your family. But certainly the simple explanation of the words Mashakana Evet Kana Rabbi means that anything that a servant buys becomes the assets, it comes into the ownership of the master. Ches. So even though we've now established that the conversation / prayers of the servants of the avos is higher than the Torah of their children, but where does this conversation take place? It takes place in the Torah. Uparsha shlema hi b'Torah, and it takes up a whole parsha in the Torah of the children. Omizeh gufa muvan. So from this, it's understood shegam habonim yecholim lahagia el hamayla shaliyos laavdei avos. This teaches us that the children can also reach this higher level of being servants. Vizui hayra bepoel halamedes beparsha shel Eliezer. And this is the practical lesson that we learn from this whole parsha concerning Eliezer. Ubimyuchad avor elu shazochu lasek b'shlichusam shel ha'avos shebechol dar v'dar, and especially for those who merited to engage in the shlichus of the avos of every generation. Rabbeinu nisienu, our rabbeim, our leaders. Ba'avodas hachzakas hayadus v'arbatas haTorah, in the work of strengthening Judaism and spreading Torah, koilo yafutu ma'inasecha chutza, inclusive of spreading the wellsprings of Chasidus. Yesh hasvurim shetoichan shlichus zuhu rak ha'asiyah. There are those who think that what does it mean to do the shlichus? To do. Ava b'chol hanagea l'teitzaz pulaseim ein hadavar nasun l'shlitasam klal. But as to what the impact is going to be, what the result of their efforts is going to be, that's not under their sovereignty, their dominion. It's not under their control. All you could do is slave away and make the nicest meal and be very gracious and invite people into your home and broadcast and radiate warmth and care and love. But as to how it's going to impact the people, that's not under our control. The shliach agrees that he has to be devoted. He has to be given over to shlichus with everything he's got. Until he's not going to have menuchas hanefesh. He's not going to have peace of mind. He's not going to have peace of mind. His family's not going to have peace of mind. Because they're going to be busy all day, all night, fulfilling the shlichus. Aval haloi alazula she'olov u'mevakesh mishtadel lashpia hu ein balabayis. But when it comes to the person who's walking into their house, coming through their doors, they don't own this person. They'll have no control over how they're impacted. This person has bechira. You can't force them to make choices that are opposite their bechira. But look in parentheses, the Rebbe says hagolui, because the truth of the matter is that a yid always wants to choose God, but it's not always revealed, and you can't make them work against their revealed choice. So the Rebbe says, I'm coming to disabuse you of what you think. You think all you could do is put in effort, but you can't control the outcome. But here we have a lesson from this Parsha B'Eliezer. Shekasher adam mamid atzmai b'matzav shel avdei avos bitul mikol v'chol. When a person places themselves into this situation of becoming a servant of the avos, they're completely self-abnegated, ke'eved la'adonai, like a servant to their master. And on top of this, he prays to God for the success of his mission. Muftach loy, then he is assured, Asher Hashem yishlach malachai lefanecha ve'azai v'etzliach darkecha, that Hashem will send an angel before you, and your mission will succeed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu maftiach lo hatzlacha b'shlichusay. Hashem assures him success in his mission. Ubemeshach kol hashlichus, hein b'halichasay, hein b'mokam hashlichus gufay, v'hein b'chazarasay b'mokam hashlichus. The Rebbe says, and the success is assured throughout the mission. When you go on the mission, when you're enacting the mission, and when you're coming home from the mission. Mehaprat hamesuyim hazeh sheba, from whatever detail of your shlichus it is. So you have a general shlichus, and then you have different aspects of that shlichus that have to play out. And Hashem is maftiach hatzlachasai. Hashem assures the hatlacha when you go, and when you're there, and when you come back. Va'azai, and then v'lakachta isha, you will take a woman. Who is this woman? Zu Knesses Yisrael. This is the Jewish people. V'hu meishiva, and the shliach returns Knesses Yisrael leisha, to her husband, who is the husband of Klal Yisrael, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Al yidei zeh shehu ma'ir oid Yehudi v'oid Yehudi me'irei, and this is done through arousing one Jew and another Jew, and irradiating their lives, until this Jew themselves becomes a light that can light others. They become an emissary of our Father in heaven. Okay, Psak did Harambam, and like the Rambam adjudicates, it gives a psak din. The Rambam says that bechira choice is an axiom. It's a ikar gadol. It's one of the main things in Jewish theology. It's a pillar of Torah mitzvahs. But still, hine ukvar hifticha Torah. But the Rambam brings down that the Torah promised shesoif Yisrael la'asais tshuva, that at the end Jews will do tshuva b'saif galusan, at the end of their galus, umiyad hein nigolin, and immediately they are revealed. Immediately we are revealed, speedily in our moment.
I have so many questions. Rachi Shem Tov.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Let me just answer one
Okay.
question that came up in the chat, and then Elisa will do her magic, and then we'll verbring. Elisheva says, I don't take contradiction. Eved Melech Melech. Eliezer was like a king. Everything was taken care of for him. So she's saying it's not a contradiction to what was asked earlier, Masha Kana Eved Kana Rabbi. So that there's this paradoxical aspect that on one hand, everything that belongs to an Eved belongs to his master, and on the other hand, the servant of a king kind of has this exalted stature, and the greatness of the king is kind of attributed to him also. Thank you, Elisheva. Thank you for that. Okay, so Eliza, thank you for hosting us this morning. And if you